Hi, my name's Gary Bailey and I'm a paid media manager here at RocketMill. Today I'm going to explain why you can't only rely on lower funnel marketing for your digital campaigns. From my experience working both client and agency side, the top of the marketing funnel isn't given enough attention. I'll explain the risk that this presents and the dangers of only focusing on the bottom of the funnel. In this talk, I'll advise what is the marketing funnel, why the marketing funnel is still relevant today, the dangers of only focusing on paid search, the benefits of the upper funnel, and why we need a testing plan. I'll also give an example of where upper funnel activity has worked well. So before we look into the risks involved with only focusing on the bottom of the funnel, let's firstly recap on what is the marketing funnel. And I'm sure you've seen one of these before. If not, you might just want to keep quiet and I'll catch up with you on it afterwards. But here's an example of a very basic marketing funnel. And I'll give the example of people looking to buy a new Mercedes electric car. The people at the top of funnel in awareness will be the largest audience. It will be anyone who could be interested in your product. If you're selling a Mercedes electric car, it could perhaps be people with environmental concerns. Activities to target these people will include addressable TV and YouTube. Consideration will be people that are showing some intent in your product, so perhaps people looking to buy a hybrid car. Activities you could use to target these people will include prospecting display ads and social channels. Conversion will be people that are ready to buy your product. So in this example, anyone that's actively looking, ready to buy a Mercedes electric car. Perhaps they're comparing different models, trying to find out which one is for them. Activities for this will traditionally include paid search campaigns and retargeting. Loyalty and advocacy will be people that have already purchased your product. And the pool of people to target will get lower as we move down the funnel. There's been talk that the marketing funnel is no longer relevant. Rather than people perhaps traditionally starting awareness, going down to consideration, then through to conversion, people can now enter at any stage. In this section, I'll advise how this has always been the case and give some examples of then and now. So going back to the 1960s, and let's take the example, there's two people, they're both in a queue in Selfridges, they're both buying some fruit. The first person noticed their friend smelled really good last night, asked what they were wearing, found out it was fruit. They liked the fragrance so much that the next day they went out and bought some for themselves. They therefore went straight in at conversion. The second person had a date that night, so he really wanted to impress them, so decided they needed some new aftershave, and then after much research they settled on buying some fruit. This person was actively in market, obviously they knew they were going to buy something, did their research and progressed down the funnel. User behaviour hasn't changed from them. Some people will always be showing more intent, be more qualified than others. And a more recent example, so my colleague Carmen, she was recently wearing some amazing new trainers and I'll be honest, I copied her, bought them too. I wasn't looking for any at the time, wasn't in market, but I bought them with Carmen's permission, I must add. So I therefore went straight in at conversion. I went online, bought those trainers. But there'll be other times when perhaps you might be buying more trainers. You might see an ad on TV for perhaps a certain make, then you'll search for that brand, progress down the funnel and buy them. So in this example, you'd obviously start higher up and move down. What we need to do is remember that we're still targeting people. Sometimes they'll act rationally and move through the funnel, but other times, if something takes their fancy, they'll just buy it, perhaps enter the auction at the bottom. It is widely acknowledged that the bottom of the funnel performs better. So this is where the focus tends to be and why many companies focus almost exclusively on paid search. In this section, we'll look into how this can be dangerous and not a good approach in the long term. And one thing to cover before we look into this any further is the common assumption that paid search sits right at the bottom of the funnel. It's a reactive media. Users are asking for something and we give it to them. We provide value by answering their query or servicing a product that meets their needs. Other forms of media are more disruptive. If you're on Facebook browsing the web, you're not actively looking for something, whereas on search you will be. But paid search, it can sit higher up in the funnel too, in awareness and consideration, as I'll now explain. And if someone searches for Mercedes B-Class Electric Art 5-door Auto, you would say it's someone at the bottom of the funnel. They know exactly what they want and are probably ready to purchase. But if someone searches for electric cars, is this person showing the same intent as the search query Mercedes-Benz B-Class Electric Art 5-door Auto? You would say that this is someone higher up in the funnel. They do not know exactly what they want, just they want an electric car, so they're perhaps not ready to purchase right then. But are you looking at these keywords the same? If you've grouped these keywords together, I'm sure the keyword electric cars won't perform as well. This could mean that over time, you'll perhaps reduce your spend on it. Then what happens with a few weeks later, you get another keyword not performing as well, so you lower your bids on that. A few weeks later, another keyword, you keep lowering your bids. And then it's risky to keep obviously lowering spend on things that you deem not to be working. And I'll give another example, and let's say that you're a travel company, you sell family holidays to Greece. And these are some example keywords that you could have in your account, not based on any real data. Performance in your account seems good. You're under your CPA target. But suddenly there's pressure internally to reduce spend. You're given a strict new CPA target of £100. Looking at these keywords, only one falls within this criteria. As you're under immediate pressure to reduce spend, you pull back on anything with a CPA over £100. But by doing this, you'll be missing out on a lot of bookings. Also, the keyword that will be kept live, the highest code for families, is right at the bottom. People know exactly where they want to go and what type of holiday they're looking for. So you'll be pausing activity higher up that could be driving people to make that search. But then what will happen if a few months later your CPA target goes down to £75, you pause more keywords. This could reduce your reach further, it could result in you not spending all your budget and driving less bookings than inspected. And some keywords will always have a higher CPA or not perform as well as others. They'll have different intent because people sit somewhere differently in the funnel. Generally, as this example shows, the CPA is lower for keywords further down the funnel, but search demand is higher for terms more upper funnel keywords. So if you keep pausing keywords which aren't performing as well as others, you reduce your reach, target less people, and this can have a negative effect. Your account will almost become overqualified. You'll struggle to spend the budget, drive less conversions, risking long-term performance of your account. Also, if you keep turning off the keywords which aren't performing well, you'll probably get to the stage where you only really have brand terms left, and in this example, you really will only be focusing on the very bottom of the funnel. There'll also perhaps be times when if you're targeting the bottom of the funnel, there isn't the demand in paid search to grow your business. And let's say you sell magazine subscriptions. For a football publication, you could bid on keywords perhaps like football magazines. There are around 3,000 monthly searches on Google for this term. But then what if you're already bidding on this keyword? Your impression share's high on it, your click share's high on it, but you still want to grow and get more subscriptions. Then what will you do? There's not really any keywords that will be completely relevant to this. So therefore, you'd have to look higher up in the funnel. You'd have to perhaps look at more upper funnel strategies in order to target new people, to increase demand, and then ultimately increase subscriptions. So, and these are obviously examples where I've seen the upper funnel activity has got really competitive, so you therefore need to look higher up in order to target new people. And I saw the equity release industry get a lot more competitive in Google a few years ago. Equity release is available if you're over 55. You can take out a lump sum against the value of your home while continuing to live there. According to the Financial Times, since 2016, the equity release market has been growing at an average rate of 7.1% each quarter. From my experience, the growth of the market led to much more competition on Google, which then increased CPCs. Before this, you could have perhaps been comfortable with the performance of your account. You're hitting targets at a reasonable CPA, but now you have to bid higher to enter the auction, which means the CPA has increased. And as this table shows, the higher cost per click will then push up your CPA. So if, for example, you see your cost per click double, you're paying twice as much for each click, so will your CPA. Let's say your quality score is already high on perhaps the keyword equity release. You're running landing page tests to improve the conversion rate, but then unless your competitors lower their bids, if you rely solely on paid search, it will almost be impossible for you to perhaps turn this around, meaning that your account's no longer profitable. So what I did in this situation was to try upper funnel activity, which we saw work really well. This is because top of the funnel will influence behaviour further down. So this means that your display activity, YouTube, addressable TV will influence paid search. So we've now covered perhaps the dangers of only focusing on paid search. So in this section, we'll look at obviously why you need to look at activity higher up in the funnel. And the study by the Harvard Business Review found that display ads have a significant impact on search queries, clicks on searches, and purchases. The study found that exposure to a display ad can increase the number of relevant search queries by between 5 to 25%. This means that your upper funnel activity will help to nurture people through the funnel and drive awareness. Brand keywords, from my experience, generally convert the best. If you can get people to search for your brand terms through upper funnel activity, you'd hope that this would drive good performance. But then if you cut this upper funnel activity, brand searches could decrease, and then so could conversions. The study from the Harvard Business Review also found that the impact on search queries from upper funnel activity does not happen instantly. The initial increase in display impressions does not generate immediate search queries until approximately 2 to 4 weeks afterwards. Upper funnel activity will therefore need a longer term commitment. how long upper funnel activity will take to perform will depend on the business and the industry. So let's take the example if you're buying a new car. Let's say you want a brand new white Lotus. Generally, the average purchase cycle for buying a new car is 90 days. If you perhaps tried some upper funnel activity for a month, it didn't perform straight away, you could switch it off. But then perhaps a few months later, like in this example, you see that actually your orders are up. You're not really sure how, could be some small tweaks you've made, you don't know. Let's be honest, it's a lovely problem to have, but it's nice to know what's driving the increase. It was perhaps due to the upper funnel activity that performance improved. But because you didn't take the lag time into effect when judging performance, you didn't measure it properly, after a month you turned off the activity, you didn't give it enough time to perform, and then obviously disregarded it before actually getting the full results. This will be because with upper funnel activity, businesses are looking for another channel that performs and acts like paid search. Many will still use Elastic to review performance, which can doom activity before it's even started. To review performance of upper funnel activity, you'll need to look at measurement studies. Is it driving more awareness? Also, look at the whole booking path and the part upper funnel activity played. Attribution will be vital to measure any upper funnel activity, and there are lots of great talks about attribution on this YouTube channel, including an excellent one by the head of paid media, Adam Craddock. By not measuring activity properly, some companies are setting up to fail. They decide upper funnel isn't working, so instead they focus on what they can see is working, which will usually be lower funnel activity. The short-term solution to poor performance is always to turn things off and reduce media spend. However, long-term, this will be a risk. If your competitors aren't doing the same, it gives them that advantage straight away. They could continue with something, get it to work for them, then you'll always be playing catch-up, trying to see how you can make it work for you. As marketers, we can give up on things too easily. We see that something isn't working, so rather than trying to optimize it, we move on to the next new thing to test. I think there's always that drive to test something new, be the first to test something, rather than try and fix something that's perhaps not working. And from my experience, some businesses don't value display activity at all. They have the mindset straight away that it won't work before giving it a chance. This can also be the same for other upper funnel activity. But rather than admitting defeat, saying this channel isn't working, we should try and find out why it isn't working. Are we giving enough time to perform? Are we spending enough budget on it? Maybe try a different tactic, a different creative, a different audience. We need to try and find that winning formula, and one way to do this will be to have a testing plan. I would suggest to set at least 10% of your budget aside just for testing. The other 90% can be used to focus on performance. With a testing budget, you could try a new channel, a whole new set of keywords. Perhaps something at first, it might sound a bit risky, but actually it might give you that advantage against competitors and really grow your business. It will also give you that chance to continue testing something that isn't working at first, but given time, you might be able to turn and really make it work for your business. And lastly, let me give you an example of when top of the funnel activity can work well. And Airbnb are a community-based online platform for listing and renting local homes. I'm sure you've all heard of them. When Airbnb were founded, not many people would be thinking of renting a home for when they're on holiday. You'd perhaps be thinking of booking a hotel, guest home or hostel. Now though, if you're looking to create your own holiday, it's highly likely you'll at least consider looking at Airbnb for suitable accommodation. When Airbnb started out, if they wanted to target people on paid search, they could bid on keywords like perhaps hotels in New York, London hotels, but we entered a very crowded market competing with companies like RocketMill, Zoopla, Booking.com. If they were to bid on keywords perhaps like New York apartments, London studio flats, perhaps you could then end up targeting people that actually wanted to live in the city, so competing with companies like RocketMill and Zoopla. So what Airbnb does is it's somewhere in the middle. There wouldn't perhaps be that search demand for exactly what they offer. So to grow the business internationally, Airbnb used Google display ads, something perhaps that we would all consider to be top of the funnel activity. To start with, you can perhaps imagine maybe the results would have been great. As we've discovered, upper funnel activity does take longer to perform. But when it does work, the results can be phenomenal. And as this chart shows, worldwide search queries for Airbnb have increased massively, from barely any demand in 2012 to huge demand now. Now there are over 30 million searches a month for Airbnb on Google. Last year, Airbnb were valued at $31 billion. And just a quote from Airbnb, and Airbnb has become a truly international business. People abroad otherwise wouldn't have heard about us, and the way that we reach our foreign audience is through Google display ads. So just to recap, the marketing funnel is still relevant. It's not everyone is showing the same level of intent as others to buy your product. Paid search can sit anywhere in the funnel, so make sure you're not grouping all keywords together with the same level of intent. If you focus purely on the bottom of the funnel, you could over-optimize your account. This will reduce your reach. Also, if you see your competitors going more aggressive, this will increase your costs, and you'll find it hard to react. To target all stages of the funnel, you must make sure that you're measuring up funnel activity differently from lower funnel activity and not expecting it to perform and act like paid search. And in order to target all stages of the funnel effectively, I always suggest to create a testing plan. Take 10% of your budget, if not more, just for testing. Decide what you're going to test and make sure you give it enough time to perform. Don't turn it off just because it's not working, but optimize it and give it a chance to work. Thank you for listening.